entertainment strictly for grandma or a serious contender for Saturday night television? Let's take a look at what may well be a major renaissance of this ancient art. The height of Chinese opera's popularity and fame in Singapore came in the 1920s and 30s. You could attend regular performances in permanent theatres housed in impressive buildings in Chinatown's Smith Street, Eu Tong Sen Street and aptly named Waiang Street. By the 50s, though, shorter filmed versions of Cantonese classics from Hong Kong started to flood the market. These provided a more attractive alternative to 4- or 5-hour local live performances. Sadly, after the war, few of Chinatown's permanent theatres reopened. In recent times, with the westernization and growing affluence of the average Singaporean, Chinese opera has had to contend with various sorts of entertainment, like television, video games, and cinema. So has the day of live opera finally come to an end?
Well, a lot of people say that Chinese opera is a dying art. I have to say I agree totally, but I'm not saying that it cannot be saved. The Chinese Opera Society is first and foremost a non-performing group. We set ourselves up to educate people about Chinese opera, to show them how to appreciate the art form, to help them understand the intricacies of the dramatic conventions. And to do this, we have brought in a lot of foreign troops from places like China and Hong Kong and Taiwan. Our criteria are quality artists and quality performances and quality plays. And with these, we hope to change people's perceptions about Chinese opera being merely a street-side form of entertainment.
To open up the potential audience of Chinese opera, the company produces English subtitles and bilingual programs at its performances. In their very own words, they want to prove that Chinese opera can be exciting, enlightening, and not at all excruciating. There are many distinctive forms of Chinese opera, each performed with its own particular style of music, makeup, costume, movement, and of course in different dialects. The most famous of all is the Beijing opera. Performed in Mandarin, it is highly acrobatic and visually spectacular, with magnificent costumes and a sophisticated blend of string and percussion music. Perhaps the most prolific opera troupe of recent times is the Chinese Theatre Circle. Established in 1981, it was set up to preserve and promote Chinese opera, drama, dance, and music.
Although a lot of purists feel that Chinese opera should be kept intact in its traditional form, yet there are many, particularly amongst the younger audience, who prefer to see changes. Not change for the sake of changing, but preserving what is good in traditional opera and adding on other good forms of artistic value to make the art more palatable to the younger generation. Even in China, Chinese opera is never static. There's always improvement all the time, but what is good is always preserved.
Some of CTC's most notable achievements have been projects like its 1984 Community Center series titled Bringing Chinese Opera to the People. In 1984, with the help of the National Arts Council, the CTC ran an educational series titled Bringing Chinese Opera to Schools.
2 years ago, Chinese Theatre Circle also thought of a project which was to popularize Chinese opera through Shakespeare. We went to several schools to perform Shakespeare in Chinese opera style. We did Macbeth and also Merchant of Venice. And through these plays that the students are familiar with, we hope that they learn to appreciate Chinese opera.
The roles in all Chinese operas, although immensely varied, generally fall into 4 main categories: men, sheng; women, ban; painted faces, jing; and fools, chou. Of course, there are endless variations on these 4 basic characters. Each character's role is denoted by elaborate and almost mask-like makeup. Red indicates bravery, black justice, and white dishonesty. Specialized movements and style of speech unique to different characters take many years to perfect, and therefore performers were traditionally trained for only one role. Originally in China, women were not allowed to act on stage, and so their roles were performed by men. These men were said to have been so skillful in the movements and gestures unique to women that eventually when women were allowed to perform, they had to be taught how to play themselves by the men. Ironically, the tables have turned today with the majority of male and female roles being played by women.
我覺得係根本冇困難嘅，雖然我係一個女仔，但係舞台上咧，我完全投入咗嗰個人物嘅角色裏邊咧，我忘記咗我自己本身嗰個女性。
Besides the CTC and the COS, there is also the newly established Chinese Opera Institute. The Institute is dedicated to promoting Chinese opera and offers a wide range of courses, lectures, workshops and demonstrations covering all features of the main opera styles.
Well, I think it's a misconception to think that Chinese opera is only for the elderly. In fact, when we started these courses, we were surprised that actually some participants are as young as 6 years old. So you do attract the young people if you design your program catering for their needs. The Chinese Opera Institute has an active program for the schools and for the community centers. Basically, these programs are trying to promote the appreciation of Chinese opera and Chinese opera activities at the grassroots level. I think certainly Chinese opera has a role to play, in the Singapore cultural landscape, and I'm sure that this form will be continued to practice and appreciated by Singaporeans for many more years to come.
So with all the activities going on in the local opera scene, it would appear that Chinese opera is indeed experiencing a definite renaissance.